Welcome back to Murder with the Missus. I'm Darren.
And I'm Amy. And today we're going to tell you about Lori Vallow Daybell, the third trial.
Don't forget to smash that like button. Check out the description for the links of all of our podcast platforms, CashApp, and Buy Me a Coffee. Like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to tell your friends. As always, tell your friends because you know what? They deserve to see us too.
They deserve it.
Yep.
Here we are again. We knew we would be. But first, we have a couple of updates that we wanted to talk about. We did a 2-part episode on the April Wilkins case out of Tulsa, who is currently in the process of trying to get resentencing. Her brother, who we greatly appreciate, let us know that she had a hearing last week that we were trying to make it to, but life things kept us from being able to go. But at that hearing, the judge said they needed more time to go over the case, and they will meet back up in September to hopefully have a decision for her. So stay tuned for a further update on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, breaking news in the Suzanne Morphew case. We did an episode on her as well. She went missing on Mother's Day and her body was found a year later. And she had BAM in her system, which is a tranquilizer mixture that her husband had. Well, her husband, Barry, was now re-indicted for her murder on Friday. So it seems that new information shows that he was the only person in their area of Colorado that had access to BAM. But hell, there's a lot of other stuff that they had against him too. So I'm happy to see some movement there. If you haven't heard of that case, go listen to the episode that we did to hear about the chipmunk and Barry's activities to see why they've stayed investigating him this whole time.
Yeah, that one was a wild one.
It's a wild one. Yeah. It's so sad too. Now, let's talk about Lori. This marked the final case that was opened against her. It may not be the last case we ever see, but it is the last for what she has open charges on right now. So for those who don't know the cases, you can go back and listen to our coverage of her second trial that we did a couple of months ago. For this one, we'll give a quick timeline, but the devil is in the details, so go back and listen. In 2006, Lori married her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. She had her daughter, Tylee, from a prior marriage, so they were raising her. Lori also had her son, Colby, who was not living in the home at the time of this incident. He was older. Charles also had kids who were older as well. So it was just Tylee, and so that's who the focus is on. Now in 2014, the couple adopted Charles's great-nephew, JJ. So now they had 2 kids living at home. In 2017, Lori started spending a lot of time reading doomsday books by Chad Daybell, who lived in Rexburg, Idaho. They ended up meeting in person in 2018, and it was life-changing for the two of them. He was also married, and he and Tammy had hella kids. Just kidding. They had like 5 kids. But Lori and Chad were talking more and more, doing a podcast together, holding hands, kissing, and talking about zombies and demons.
Oh, young love.
Right. It's precious. Lori was actually referring to Charles as a demon amongst her friends at this time. It was in 2019 that Charles actually called the police because he was worried, saying Lori believed she was a god and she had threatened to kill him. There is body cam footage out there of him talking to the cops about it. In February, he did file for divorce, but then stopped it. But he was talking about starting that up again, according to his sister Kay. However, in July, he had flown to Arizona, where Lori was living at the time, to visit with JJ when an altercation broke out and Lori's brother, Alex, shot and killed Charles in Lori's home. In September, Lori moved to Rexburg, Idaho to be closer to Chad. She started saying now that Tylee was a zombie. And then September 8th is the last time Tylee was seen alive. September 22nd is the last time JJ was seen alive. No suspicion was raised yet, though. On October 2nd, someone shot at Lori's niece's husband, Brandon Boudreaux, as he came out of his home or was coming to his home that morning, literally as he was trying to pull in his driveway. On October 19th, Chad's wife, Tammy, suddenly passed away in bed. And then on November 5th, roughly 2 weeks later, Chad and Lori got married in Hawaii.
It was right after that when Kay started trying to find JJ.
Right. Because JJ was her grandson. Mm-hmm. So now she's realizing, hang on, all this stuff is happening and I don't know where these kids are. And it's her questioning that kicked off the beginning of the end for Chad and Lori's reign of terror. Their first trials were in Idaho for Tylee, JJ, and Tammy's deaths. Yes, the kids' bodies were recovered on Chad's property. Tammy's body had been exhumed during all the investigations, and her cause of death was changed from natural to someone did this to you. So that's why they were charged for her too. Chad is currently on death row, and Lori got 3 life sentences. Then Lori went to her trial in Arizona for Charles's death earlier this year. This is the one that was streamed, so we were actually able to watch it, and that's what our coverage was mainly on in our previous episode. She was also found guilty for his death, but she put off sentencing until after her 3rd trial, and that's the one that just happened.
This is where she was her own lawyer, wasn't it?
She was her own lawyer in the first one, and now this one too.
Yeah.
Yes. And that would be the conspiracy to commit murder of her niece's husband, Brandon Boudreaux. Can you pause?
Why?
I have audio that I wanted to put in there.
Oh. Well, I mean, if you have audio, let's play it.
Okay, I'll just play it off my phone.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Just get it ready. That way you have it up there.
Yeah, because I'm going to play it right now.
Okay.
Or, well, here in a second. So,
yeah,
like we said.
Trying to get my seat situated here.
Please get comfortable.
Yeah. Let me kick back and relax.
Let me tell you a story.
Yeah.
So, like we said, she represented herself because at this point, she has nothing to lose. I mean, what's the point of, I mean, in the second trial, I get it. You know, she probably felt she had a little more hope, but now there's nothing. There's nothing to lose. And she loves the attention. So.
Oh, yeah. And this one right here was kind of funny because I got to watch a little bit of it as she was paying attention. This is the one where she was like, she was asking the judge to recuse himself.
On repeat.
And everything. And he's like, why?
Right.
And she's like, oh, you're just totally against me. And
right.
You're not actually trying to help me or any of that kind of stuff. And,
yep.
And everything. So, I mean, you know, and it was the same judge, right?
It's the same judge.
Yeah. Yep. So good. So, I mean, at least he put his foot down and got to stand on it. So
he did, much to Lori's disgust.
Yeah.
She, like we said, she's tried to ask him several times to recuse himself and he won't. But I think she's confusing the fact that he has something against her with the actual fact that she's not a lawyer. So she doesn't follow proper procedures. In a pretrial hearing, they butted heads. Yeah. And she told him that he hasn't approved any of her motions ever. That's the one you watched. You've never approved anything of mine. He reminded her that he had literally just approved a motion that she had made in that very hearing that they were in. And that basically her motions had no legal merit because she doesn't know what she's doing. She even had a hearing with a different judge right before jury selection in this trial to try to get them to take her judge off of her case. And she was shot down by that judge too. She also fought at one point that she wanted her personal information off the jury form, which come to find out was her name. That was her personal information. The judge reminded her that that's the case name, the state versus Lori Vallow. So it's going to be on there. She said that that could lead to potential jurors Googling her and that they would have a hard time finding a jury who didn't know about her prior trials if they did that. Yeah. He kindly reminded her that in order to find out if they had heard about prior cases of Lori Vallow Daybell, that they would have to ask them if they've ever heard of Lori Vallow Daybell. So either way, they're going to have her name.
Yeah. And, you know, and I saw that hearing that, you know, with you and, you know, and it was actually just dumb.
It's hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, wasn't that the one where she was like, or no, I mean, whenever she was on one of them, was she the one that was like my world famous chicken enchiladas?
This is her chicken enchiladas.
And everything.
She didn't say they were world famous, but she thought that they were more well known amongst the family members.
And he's like, nope, don't remember.
And actually a lot of people
it was the brother or something.
Yeah, it was her actual brother.
Yeah.
But a lot of people have come out since that, because that was in Charles's trial, that have said, we never remember her making those.
Oh, I thought maybe they came out and was like, oh, yeah, I remember the chicken enchiladas.
No, nobody remembers those.
Maybe somebody had been like, hey, yeah, man, they was great.
No. Now, there was somebody who said that they had eaten some that she had made one time, but they were bland and terrible.
It tastes like ass.
Yes.
Gotcha.
But these are the things that she considers unfair that the judge is doing, right? So they finally get to jury selection on June 2nd. She shows up to court in a wheelchair because she says that she's sick. Her makeup is done, her hair is done. She's in her court clothes, but she's too sick to go on. The judge put in an order to have her medically assessed within 24 hours and then gave her Tuesday off, but said they would be picking a jury on Wednesday, come hell or high water. I added that last part, but it was happening. She asked him if he was going to come and get her out of her cell, and he said, yes, I will. His order said basically that it was an order that by any means necessary to include force to secure the attendance of the defendant for his or her trial. So they're like, we will come get you.
So did he have to come drag her out of her cell?
Unfortunately, no.
Oh,
I know.
Shucks.
I know. She came to court on her own. She walked in bent over, but she was there.
Oh.
And they did get a jury seated on Wednesday, the 4th, and trial started the next day. And day one was wild right out the gate. Lori, in her opening statement, kept having to be warned. You see, the prior convictions are not to come into court here. But Lori was saying things like about how great of a person she was, who spreads love and joy. And there were a lot of objections by the state. So after the jury left for the morning break, the judge and the prosecutor reminded Lori that if she keeps trying to talk about her good character, then they could rebut by bringing up that she is a 4-time convicted felon on the death of her 4th husband, her 5th husband's former wife, and her own children. Like, you want to talk about it? Let's talk about it. And she was like, So this is where it got wild, and this is where I have audio.
Yep.
Because when I was doing something while this was on, and I had to grab my phone real quick, so it's literally recorded on my phone. My bad.
My bad.
Yeah, so here you go. I think we've done this before, too.
Yep.
Any issue of character evidence under 404A and 405, that if the defendant opens the door and tries to advise that she is a good person, a peaceful person, a kind person, a loving person, any of those other types of things that we believe that would allow us under 405 to then bring in specific acts, such as the murder of her children, her husband, and her current husband's wife.
All right.
Which would also be 404B that they withdrew. That would be 405.
Yeah, they withdrew it, but if you bring up 404 that you...
Then all 404B is in, or do we get a hearing on what 404B can come in? If I open the door, do I get a hearing? We stop trial, and I get a hearing on...
Stop. We'll have a very short hearing, okay? If you're going to introduce how you have great character and good character, we're going to have a short hearing on what evidence that they can bring in to rebut that character, which could include being convicted of 4 murders. So,
and would you
talk
like...
to your advisory counsel during the break. And
you don't need to yell at me either.
Okay?
Yeah, you are, and you do not need to talk to me that way. I'm very courteous. I'm very courteous to you.
No, you have been nothing near courteous to me during the course of these proceedings. Talk with your advisory counsel about the rest of your cross. We're going to resume in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. This is how she talks to the judge, but then says he's being unfair to her.
She's like, I am a fucking delight.
Yes.
You should know that I'm a delight
yes.
to be around.
Yeah, and this was before the morning break on day 1 of trial.
Wow. Gets kicked right out.
Kicked right out of that courtroom. He's like, get her out of here.
That's awesome.
She was so mad.
Mm-hmm.
But when she came back in after the break, he told her that if she kept acting like that she would forfeit her right to be pro se, meaning that she couldn't represent herself anymore. And so Lori apologized for her bad behavior. And that was the only real issue that they had for the rest of trial. So I'm going to throw that out there. It started with a bang, and I thought, man, this is going to be great. But then that was it. I expected her to do a lot more acting out than that.
I mean, honestly, what was she hoping to gain out of this trial anyway? I mean, she's already convicted on, 3 others?
She's got 3 life sentences, yeah. But she's been convicted of 4 things because she got Charles. But they're not sentencing her for that yet.
So, but that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, what's the point? At this point, what is the point?
Of her representing herself or of this trial?
Of this trial, because she's already in 3 life sentences.
Right.
So, right. I mean, what are they trying for death penalty? I mean,
No, she won't get the death penalty.
I mean, but that's what I'm saying. What's the point?
Well, the point,
to get a 4th life sentence?
Yes. So the point is, number one, justice for Brandon. He
Okay.
deserves to have his day in court. He deserves to face his person.
I absolutely agree with that.
Right. And
But-
then number two is if any of her prior convictions ever get overturned, appealed and won, anything like that, these are backups.
Okay.
So that she can't get out ever. So she's got cases in Idaho and cases in Arizona. So they
Okay.
want to make sure everything is covered.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, justice for Brandon, I mean, you know, 3 life sentences, I would say that's justice for all.
Right. But you have the right to face your people in court. And that's
You're
what
absolutely
he
right.
wants to do. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right.
So, and this has been talked about a lot. A lot of people are like, what is the point? Why are we here?
Yeah,
This is
why
a waste
do we have
of
to
money.
keep going through this? Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of
The state's money.
states' money that, you know, tax dollars are going out to a 4th freaking trial
Right.
on somebody that's
Well,
already whatever.
Mm-hmm.
3rd trial. I guess one trial had 2,
3. Mm-hmm.
had 3 of them.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. They did all of them at once because they all happened.
So what
at
was the
same-
other one? What was the 2nd trial?
Charles.
And then there's Brandon.
Now there's Brandon.
So 3, who's the 3?
The 3 were Tylee, JJ, and
Oh, the kids.
Tammy. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and the mom?
Well, it's Charles or Chad's ex-wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The one who
Gotcha.
died in her sleep.
I got you. I'm just trying to remember all of them.
No, you're good. Yeah. It's been a minute since we've done this. We've had a lot of things happen in between.
Yeah.
So now Brandon was, of course, the first witness called by the state, and he told his story. He had married Lori's niece, Melanie, on Halloween in 2008, and they went on to have 4 kids. Melanie's mom had passed away when she was 9 years old, so Lori had been the mother figure for her throughout her life, and they were very close. But in June of 2019, Brandon's grandfather passed away, and Melanie was refusing to go to the funeral with him. Now, this started one of those arguments where everything comes out. Melanie told Brandon that Lori thought he was gay, that he was trying to get her temple recommend taken away, and that he had hacked her computer. We heard a lot about the temple recommend and the trial for Charles, because Charles and her brother Adam were trying to use that to force an intervention of Lori because she was going so far off the deep end with her beliefs. So if she lost her temple recommend in the LDS church, then she wouldn't be able to enter a temple. And that was very important for Lori to be able to do. You know, she thinks she's a god. She's got to be able to get to temple. When Brandon was told all of this, he texted Lori and was like, okay, this is a problem. A couple of times he sent texts to her, but Lori never responded.
Yeah.
Now, this argument with Melanie is when she told him that she wanted a divorce. So he filed for divorce and got a mediator. And then they decided that they would just sell their $1 million home. Just get out of it.
Did they both move out?
No. So the plan was for Melanie to move into a rental with the kids, which she did in mid-July. Brandon stayed in the house to keep it clean and ready for showings because they needed to get it sold pretty quick. And, you know, kids, they can tear up a house. They split custody of the kids throughout the week and then alternated weekends. And the house went under contract. So Brandon had actually found him a rental house in Gilbert, Arizona in September. Melanie told him that she was going to go out of town and asked him if he wanted an extra weekend with the kids, which of course he did. So he hurried up, called all the people that were near him, which wasn't very many, and everybody helped move him into that rental. He wasn't ready to go yet, but he needed a place for the kids to go. You know what I mean? So they say that he moved in September 13th. And then 4 days later, Melanie asked him for the address of the rental. Of course, I mean, her kids are going to be staying there, so she's going to want to know where it is. Now, her trip out of town that she was taking was actually to Rexburg, Idaho to see Lori. And I think before we get into the day of events, that we're going to take a minute to hear from today's sponsor.
If you're in a heated argument with your dryer, don't worry. You'll both cool down eventually. Or maybe you just need a washer and dryer. Don't get agitated. Take a load off.
Get your laundry set from My Laundry Solutions and let them iron out your problems. If you live in an apartment, get your set from them. They service them, and they have locations in Texas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. The most recent area is Lubbock, Texas, around the Tech Terrace area, with more locations coming soon.
So give them a call today. 800-535-4411.
Or go online to mylaundrysolutions.com.
and let them wash your troubles away. Wash your troubles away.
Yes. Now, this brings us to October 2nd. Brandon had the kids that day, so they did their morning routine and left the house. He dropped the 2 older kids off at school, the third to a pre-K program, and then he met Melanie at a park to exchange the youngest. He then went to the gym for an hour to an hour and a half before going home to get ready for a meeting with his business partners. Now, at around 9:13 a.m., Brandon is driving up to his house and notices a Jeep Wrangler with Texas license plates is parked really out of place and really close to his driveway. There's also no rear tire on the back of the Jeep, which is odd because all Jeeps have that back rear tire. As he gets closer, the back window of the Jeep opens, a rifle barrel comes out, and bang. The driver's side window of his Tesla shatters, but it stays in the window because the tent is holding it together. He takes off and rounds the corner, seeing the Jeep also take off and leave, going in the other direction. He called 911, circles back around, and pulls into his driveway to wait for the cops. With a Tesla, apparently, when you put it in park, the door automatically opens. So when he does that, the window falls out because there's no frame around the top holding it in place. So once it moves, it just all falls out. Teslas also have a lot of cameras, front and back and on the sides. But the one that Brandon had didn't store recordings. So there's no footage, unfortunately.
So, quick question. Was the divorce final yet?
No, it wasn't final until the middle of October, and this happened October 2nd, so it was a couple weeks later.
Okay, follow-up question.
Okay.
Did he have life insurance?
Look at you, looking for motives. He did have life insurance, and Melanie was the beneficiary. Are we already drawing conclusions?
Yep.
Well, we did find out that there is an active investigation on Melanie right now, which we did not know before this trial. She has never been charged with anything in this case. So Lori's trial is for the conspiracy part of it. The police who arrived on the scene, of course, also came to court to testify. Lori didn't even cross-examine some of them. What would be the point, really? And there were a lot of witnesses that she didn't cross-examine. But a recurring theme when she did was that there was some type of issue with the color of the Jeep. So Brandon said it was puke green at first. Yeah. Then as the cops were there, he was like pulling up shades of green on his phone and found what he believed to be a better color. And it was actually camo green, not puke green. Neighbors who saw the Jeep said dark colored, or even at some point, some said blue was the color of the Jeep. One neighbor was leaving and saw the Jeep parked the wrong way on the road, nose to nose with another vehicle. So that's probably why Brandon said it was out of place. First of all, why are you so close to my driveway? And second of all, why are you parked so close to that van? The prosecutor, Trina Kay, said in her opening statement that the Jeep had been running the whole time it was there. And this neighbor had left his house 30 minutes before the shooting, and he said it was definitely running. So when they broke down the timeline, they figured that it had to have been out there running for over an hour, just waiting. Lori made a big deal about the color of the Jeep, like I said, because she had a gray Jeep with a Texas license plate. And you can see pictures of it on the thumbnail of this episode. Trina Kay showed pictures of the Jeep that were taken at Lori's house when Charles was shot. That's what those pictures are from. And held the first picture they popped up on the screen in the trial, it looked like a two-tone green to me. So I was right there with him.
And you know, I mean, maybe some witnesses were colorblind, you know, kind of like me.
Very true.
I wouldn't have been able to tell. Actually, I'm looking at the pictures and I cannot tell. Those look gray.
They are gray.
Those are gray?
It's actually gray.
Oh, okay. I mean, it looks like a dark gray and a light gray.
It's what it is. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, because that don't look green to me.
Well,
and I am colorblind. So, I mean, it's just,
But in the light, in the situation, it's a thing.
Yeah.
And one of the witnesses. He said
that looked puke green?
Yes.
He don't know what puke green looks like.
Well, then when he pulled it up, it was camo green, and then it was gray, and then it was,
I mean, camo green, it could be a hunter green, you know, dark green.
True.
Which could push off as a has a gunmetal gray.
Grayish color.
A grayish color. So,
yeah, I agree with you.
but still not puke green. Puke green is like light.
It's like a weird, brighter green. Now, one of the state witnesses said it was a cop who said that it is very common for people to get car color, hair color, shirt colors, all kinds of things wrong when you're in a stressful situation. But this case doesn't rest solely on Brandon's memory of the color of the Jeep that he was being shot at from. Another issue that Lori harped on while Brandon was on the stand was his sexuality. She did ask him if she had ever said to him that she thought he was gay, which she had not. Remember, that came from Melanie. And then he texted her to tell the truth about it, and she never texted him back. So it never came straight from Lori. But she also spent a lot of time bringing up a video from the pink pony. Trina K kept objecting because it's irrelevant to the case, and the judge kept sustaining the objection. But when has an objection ever deterred Lori? In case you haven't ever seen Lawyer Lori in action, the best way I can describe it is that she picks one or two actual good points to dive into. But then there's at least 20 or so that mean nothing. And then she writes out a set of questions and just goes down the list, regardless of whether it's the exact same thing that they've already objected to. So she'll just keep going on repeat.
Mostly because she has no real defense.
That is true. That is very true. She does try to plant doubt. I guess that's what she's trying to do, but it's mostly just random questions.
Doubt in what?
Well, if you can plant some reasonable doubt, then maybe they won't find you guilty.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he didn't know the color of the Jeep. How do you not know?
It wasn't me. He didn't know the color of the Jeep. It couldn't have been me that killed him.
Exactly.
Or shot at him or fucking whatever.
Exactly. But you got to try, right?
No,
not like that.
Not in this case.
And in Charles' trial, and then I saw it again in this one, you get a lot of her trying to just find out what people say about her and stuff. It seems like that's what she mainly cares about because they're under oath, so they can't lie to you. So she's just asking all these personal questions. But what I really want to get to in this case is the proof and the investigation. So police asked Brandon that day if there's anyone who would want to hurt him. And he says, oh yeah, Lori and Alex. So that's why they were investigated. The bullet went just inches from where his head would have been in that car. And they did find 4 bullet fragments in the Tesla. Now, Lori asked them if they tested those fragments to make sure that they came from a bullet. Well,
from a bullet?
Yeah. She's like, are you sure those were from a bullet? Or what? What else you got? What other alternative?
Why from a bullet? I mean, why not from a gun?
Right?
I mean.
Well, they weren't tested. So asking them that on the stand, it makes them look like, oh, you didn't test that?
Yeah.
And police are like, well, we just went off our knowledge of bullets. We see them all the time. We see fragments all the time. We see bullet holes all the time. We know what they look like. She asked if they collected glass from the window to test it. They did not.
Of course.
They did take the Tesla in to review it at the station, but they drove it there instead of towing it. So now you've got another person who's contaminated your crime scene, which I thought that was weird because don't you want to preserve that evidence? Either way. The Tesla was looked over and then returned to Brandon. So Detective Pillar said that they didn't know that the investigation would end up being so big, insinuating that they maybe would have handled things a little differently had they known what all was going on with her. So she asked him, well, how can I have my experts test these things? And he said, well, they can't. Because they can't.
I mean, does she have a good point there?
She kind of does. Why did you not preserve evidence?
Yeah, I mean, that right there's where it's like, oh, it's one of the things where it's like, did they not do their job enough because they had her on all this other shit?
Nope. They didn't even know about her at the time.
About the other stuff, yeah.
They didn't know anything.
So it fell into bad investigation again.
Yep. So, again. Where have we seen that before?
All the time. I mean, we see it all the time.
Just about every case we do. Now, she has her moments, so that was a good point for her. She brought up that Brandon said he saw a rifle that possibly had a silencer on it. So without testing the bullet fragments, can they really tell if it came from a rifle or a handgun? Another good question. She also kept asking about the garage at Brandon's house, which I did not understand. She asked him if he went inside, and he said no, that the garage door automatically opens when he pulls in the driveway. But I don't know where she was going with that because it doesn't matter. It was just so weird. The police cleared the house, but they didn't investigate anything inside of it, so they weren't in the garage either. Brandon had 2 friends come to be with him at the scene, and Lori talks about pictures from the crime scene that show those friends inside the crime scene tape. But police said that they had to go inside for something. I can't remember if it was going to the bathroom or getting something to drink or something because it was really hot. And they were supervised and escorted by law enforcement. So the only time they were in the crime scene tape was when they were going to get whatever in the
And
house.
I'm sure it wasn't through the damn crime scene. It was around in a safe place.
When like they were in the Tesla taking selfies.
Yeah, they wouldn't know they were fucking doing duck face and shit. Yeah, exactly. You know, doing the, yeah.
So Detective Pillar did go to Idaho and find the Jeep and process it. A forensic scientist from Mesa, Arizona testified that Lori's brother Alex's DNA was on the steering wheel of the Jeep and the driver's side seatbelt buckle. Lori did not cross her when she was on the stand. So that was one of them that Lori just left alone.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that she was looking forward to crossing the forensic scientist from Phoenix Police Department who did the gunshot residue testing. She had already brought up with another witness that GSR is made up of 3 things: antimony, barium, and lead. So she had definitely done her homework or Google search.
Yeah, come in with the facts.
She trying to. So the GSR guy Mueller said that something having all 3 elements would make it a characteristic particle. But 1 or 2 component particles are also considered GSR.
Yep.
So Lori talked about things with these components that are non-gun related, like brake dust, fertilizer, and hairspray. And she's not wrong on that point. But on cross, Mueller said that fireworks and hairspray are not gunshot residue. You can tell the difference.
Yep.
So, plus who's going around in the Jeep spraying hairspray on everything?
Or who's fucking rolling around in fucking manure.
Or setting fireworks off inside of it.
or fertilizer, whatever.
Yeah.
Manure.
Yeah, I just carry it in the back, you
I
know.
just sit there and, boy, I rub it around my hands and stuff. Makes it feel great.
It's very moisturizing for your
Yes.
skin.
Love that shit.
Literally. They collected 8 samples from Lori's Jeep and 3 of them were tested. Good on you, guys. Almost half. A mix of all 3 components were found on the driver's side and passenger side inside windows and also on the passenger side interior back window.
Cool.
So we know that it looks like a gun was shot from inside of Lori's Jeep.
Yep.
A Jeep matching hers shot at Brandon. And Alex's DNA is inside the Jeep. But there's so much more evidence. Melanie was one of only 5 people who knew where Brandon's house was. He had just rented that, so not a lot of people knew where he was going to be. It was basically Melanie and whoever helped him move. Alex's search history shows that he searched for window tinting places on September 25th, and he had extra tint added to Lori's Jeep at Danny's window tinting. They, of course, testified at trial, saying they added 5% film to the back 3 windows and 20% to the front windows. So now it was harder to see inside the Jeep.
I mean, yeah, that looks suspicious when it's right before shooting.
Yeah, in the bigger picture, it's definitely suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
That same day, Lori and Alex went to Walmart in Idaho Falls and bought a burner phone. They know this because Lori's phone puts her there, pinging off surrounding towers. And Alex's phone actually connected to Walmart's Wi-Fi. So Alex used that burner phone that they bought there to access his Gmail account.
Idiot.
Making that burner phone very traceable by the cops. Now, this is the phone that he used to search for the tent shop. He also searched where to shoot guns. He made searches about trajectory and angles of shots. Bro. On October 1st and the morning of the 2nd, because remember, this shooting happened October 2nd, he searched Brandon's address. After the shooting, the phone searched directions for back roads all the way back to Rexburg, Idaho. Literally made him a map. I'll also throw in here that a license plate reader on the diesel system showed the Jeep on I-40 near Holbrook on October 1st. So now we've got the Jeep in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Lori did question that too. Why was there only one instance of an LPR camera? Pickup reading, whatever you call it. But we know that he took back roads home. And the guy from the DEA said not all roads have readers and not all readers are on their diesel system. So there you go.
And, what's bad is that he literally Googled everything.
Everything.
He even checked his freaking email.
He did. He did. He did. He even Googled an address on Power Road in Arizona, and then they found a receipt for a Mexican restaurant in the Jeep.
And I bet he did. I bet he
For that
didn't,
restaurant.
I bet he didn't check his email. I bet what it is like now, whenever you go in and you search something, it's like sign in with Google.
True.
And everything. I bet that's what he did.
Probably.
And then it made it look like because it's signed into your Gmail.
That's true.
Or your email or whatever.
Because then everything goes into your Google account.
Yep.
Everything. The search for Brandon's address on the morning of the shooting was made using cell towers near Melanie's rental house there. So imagine that'll come up in her trial, if they ever get enough evidence to charge her in this. Because she had his new address. She knew his schedule that morning, mostly. She didn't know that he was going to the gym after they exchanged their youngest. So they're saying that's the reason that Alex had to lay low in the Jeep and leave it running for over an hour waiting for him to show up.
Yeah.
Because when Brandon's phone left his rental house to take the kids to school, Alex's burner phone went to Brandon's rental house. So he knew exactly when he left. He thought he knew exactly when he was coming back, but Melanie didn't know about that gym stop. So we pretty well know that Alex used the Jeep and took the shot at Brandon, right? We've got there. But is there enough to prove that Lori was involved in the conspiracy? You tell me.
You tell me.
On September 30th, Lori's phone searched for how to get the back seat out of a Jeep Wrangler. Later, Alex left for Arizona in the Jeep. Alex and Lori lived in the same complex at that time, and around 4:30 p.m. that day, Alex's personal cell phone, not the burner, his personal one, moved from his apartment to Lori's apartment. The morning of the shooting at about 8 a.m. Arizona time, Lori used Alex's phone to call her own phone for a 24-minute phone call.
Trying to create that alibi.
Exactly. And on October 1st, Lori is on surveillance renting storage unit C52 in Rexburg. On footage, you also see later Lori and Chad putting two things in that unit: a spare tire off the back of the Jeep and a folded up back seat. They believe that the back seat was taken out so that Alex could lay low and wait, and the spare tire was taken off the back because you can't open that back window to shoot out of it if there's a tire on it.
Yeah.
Then when Alex got back to Idaho, he and Lori are on storage unit surveillance, taking the tire and the seat back out. Involved?
Yeah.
Maybe. The Google searches and the surveillance footage came out in court with Lieutenant Ray Hermosillo on the stand. He ID'd Lori in the footage. He said that Lori and Alex and Melanie were all staying in that complex. They had 3 units there. So Unit 107 was Lori's, Unit 175 was rented to Alex, and then Melanie stayed in Unit 174. So she was kind of splitting her time between Idaho and Arizona. Is that where we're at? Yes. So they were all right there together. On November 1st, they were on the lookout for the Jeep. So they were doing surveillance, and they said that Lori was going in and out of Alex's unit, but not her own, which they thought was super weird. In fact, when they went to further investigate a few weeks ago and served search warrants, or a few weeks later, Lori's unit was completely empty. There was no furniture. There was no sign that anybody lived there. And we talked about that a little bit more in the last episode, because it was at that point, what got them the search warrants was actually after Kay had raised the alarm bells about JJ. Yeah.
And they probably had no idea what they was getting into in the first place.
How could you?
Yeah.
To know that these kids were dead, her husband's dead, his wife is dead. Like, How do you know all this is about to spill out?
Yeah.
It was a shitstorm. They did go into Alex's unit, which was furnished and had food, like somebody was actually living there. But the closets were missing clothes. So he said it looked like somebody just grabbed them in a hurry and left. And we know they did that because in the first case, we talked about the weird interaction that the cops had with Alex and Chad the day before they served these search warrants, where Alex and Chad were the only ones there. And Alex said Chad was his friend. And Chad said that he barely knew Lori, even though they were married at the time. So it was that weird interaction that was like red flags, red flags.
Yeah.
Also found in Alex's unit was a rental agreement for storage unit C52 under the name Lori Ryan. So Ryan was her name when she was married to Tylee's dad. So that's several husbands back. So she was definitely up to dirty business. Why'd she get it in that name? Why'd she do it right before the shooting? Why did they put everything? I mean, you can see this. I ain't got to spell it out. They also found a couple of Alex's rifles that had threaded barrels, meaning a silencer could be attached to them. Now, Brandon said it looked like the rifle had a silencer on it, but a neighbor's doorbell camera caught the audio of the shot that day, so definitely didn't have a silencer on it. So maybe he saw that threading, right, and was trying to make sense of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to make sense of anything in her case.
That's true. That's true. So much came out in Lieutenant Hermosillo's testimony, and this was another person that Lori did not cross-examine. She was like, I'm good. I'm not talking to him. After 5 days of trial, the jury got the case for deliberation. They came back in for maybe like 30 minutes on June 12th and had a verdict. Guilty. I know at least one of the jurors has already been...
Guilty.
Yes, done. It didn't take them any time. I don't even know why they left the jury box. They should have just been like, we can do this right here.
Yeah. They probably went to lunch.
Well, they ended for the day and then came in the next morning for like 30 minutes and was like, okay, we're good.
They was like, whew, man, let's go to sleep. Let's sleep on it for a minute and then we'll just come back in. We'll just, you know what we're going to do. So let's just do it.
If we're still feeling guilty in the morning, we'll just go with it. And they were. Now, the juror that's already had interviews done, he said that as soon as the judge released them from jury duty, some started to Google and immediately found out about the other cases. So then they asked them if they wanted to speak to the media, and none of them did. So they were taken out separately from everybody else, which if you'll remember in the Charles trial, they came straight out of that courthouse and were being interviewed right and left by people. And these people did not want that.
Yeah.
He said they were all pretty much at guilty, like you said. But when they showed the surveillance footage of her and Alex at the storage unit getting the stuff back out, that sealed it for them. Because up to that point, they could say, well, maybe she didn't know that's why he was borrowing the Jeep. Maybe she didn't know that's what he wanted the burner phone for. You know what I mean? But when they saw them together getting the tire and the seat back out, they were like, she definitely had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
That sealed it up. Now, he asked... he said her asking all those questions when she was harping on like the color of the Jeep and stuff like that, when there was so much more evidence she could have focused on, was not doing her any favors. They were like, you're focusing on the wrong thing and there's a reason for it. It made her look even more guilty that she was not acknowledging the actual evidence. They got the impression that she liked all the attention of representing herself, no shit, and seemed to get joy out of cross-examining people, especially Brandon. Also,
well,
no shit.
Yeah. And, you know, this was her last trial, so we won't get to do it again.
Right. This is her last chance to be lawyer Lori. Well, she'll appeal. She's already appealed. In the middle of this case, she was filing the appeals for her Charles case. Mm. But I don't see how any appeals or demands for a retrial will ever be granted. They scheduled her sentencing for both of these cases, so Brandon's and Charles's, for July 25th. But Charles's case carries a life sentence regardless. She already knows what she's getting there. And that's where this one ends. Maybe. There's still Melanie to deal with. So I guess just say that this one is basically over for Lori. And we'll update when she gets sentenced, of course. One thing I thought was interesting was that she was trying to get the judge to hurry up and do the sentencing now within 30 days so that she could get back to Idaho as soon as possible. Some speculate that it is so she could be backed by Chad, closer to Chad. But it is reported previously that she didn't like it in Arizona jail and liked Idaho jails better. So that could be it too. But that's where we are. I'm sure we'll get an interview from her where she answers 2 questions.
Judge, I've been like, yeah, let's just keep her here.
Well, she was like, you have to do it within 30 days, right? And he was like, we're going to do it July 25th, which is more than 30 days out. She was like, oh, well, if we could do it earlier, that'd be great. And he was like, July 25th. So that's when it's going to be. She's not getting anything from him. So do you have any final thoughts?
No, I do not. No, her little self-lawyer bit did it in for me, so.
Yeah, she's done. All right, if you like our content, please like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate all of our followers.
And as always, don't forget to tell your friends.
Tell them.
See you guys next time.
Bye.